You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live number 416 on the 18th of June, 2025. And Patrick shows up at the last moment. Congratulations. Yes, you got in there. No one even noticed if I didn't have mentioned it. Way to go, Patrick.
I made it.
With me, as always, my co-host, Casey Green, joins us from the Mid-Atlantic somewhere. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. Juneteenth tomorrow. Get a chance to catch my breath. And
also joining us, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. It's some crazy weather here today. It's windy one moment, it's raining the next, and then it's nice and sunny. So just whatever season you want, we got it today.
Got it all. Got it all. And speaking of weather-wise, do you guys realize that we're getting close to the first day of summer, which is just a few days away now? And on top of that, a little bad news with that, of course, the first day of summer is also the longest day with daylight in it.
Why is that bad news? That's great for solar production.
Well, but we're on the downslope after that day.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Like, we just got here. It just seems that the weather's been getting great.
Yeah.
And we're already figuring out that, you know what? We're almost at max daylight hours, and it starts sliding back into winter. But
I figure that's where you're going with it.
Oh no, we got all of July and August that are going to be great weather. So I'm not worried about winter yet.
Oh, very good, very good.
So my what broke this week report was my office chair.
That's right. You got a new one on order.
Yeah, new one on order. I didn't want to. I mean, I was already getting annoyed with the old one, but I wasn't ready to replace it yet. Leaned back like this just a little bit, rocked the baby, bang! Oh, my back! I've been hit by a truck. Not that time. That's what it felt like.
Very good, very good. I wanted to say hello to Budget and Lee Moon, who were the first guys in the chat room today.
Mm-hmm.
Mark has also joined us. Hello, everyone. Say hello if you're in there. And let's move on and start taking a look at some news, because we do have some news to report. And this little piece of news is kind of surprising. We've got some more confirmation about the Model Y with extended seats, that is extra seats. Right now, the new Model Y has a maximum of 5 seats, but we're understanding from Green the Only, who has done some looking at the software code, has discovered there is a few notations about a 6-seater Model Y. So that's kind of unusual, because, of course, we knew about the 7-seater that was available in the previous version, albeit, man, you don't have to have many. You can't have many legs if you're getting that 7. If you're sitting in seat number 6 and 7, for sure. But this was interesting that Green the Only found some information about actual notations about a 6-seater, and of course that leads us to believe that you may have that those captain-like chairs in the middle row as opposed to a bench, and then some sort of a passway to get into the very rear seats. Again, no idea about legroom, if that's going to change at all. Although, as we've stated in our Twitter account, there have been some Chinese reports that there is a stretched version of the Y being talked about.
You can only stretch it so far before it becomes my legs.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be too far at all. But here's my thing is, and in our Twitter feed, I did ask the question, does anyone realistically believe that they would stretch the Model Y by 5-6 inches?
Oh, no. That much you got to X. If it's like 1 or 2, yeah, maybe. 5 or 6 inches is X.
Yeah, the whole 6-seater thing. So I had a 6-seater Model X, and it was great. But I really don't see them doing this with the Model Y. A third row, fine. If you have, a lot of kids you need to haul around, they don't need much leg room anyway, and then that would probably work. But like you guys said, if you start doing too much of this stuff with the Y, you have left no room for the X at all in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And maybe in China there's a specific use case for it, because we talked about how in that market the owners often sit in the back seat or the second row in this case, and then have a chauffeur. So maybe having captain's chairs in that market makes sense. But I don't see them deploying it outside of that at all, if ever.
Yeah, didn't they have the executive seats through 14 because of China? Where you got the 4 large seats and no like the Volt, but bigger and more comfortable on the S.
I don't know if did they have that on the S?
Oh yes.
Okay.
You couldn't fold down the armrest or you couldn't make it in the 5th seat any way you wanted to. I could see them doing 6 seats, but again, as Patrick was saying, that does encroach. But as everybody keeps saying, there's not a lot of leg room in the 6 and 7 seats on the Model Y. So perhaps they could do the pass through without the pretty pedestal seats, just like regular folding seats, and there's just no third seat in the middle. That would be sufficient. And you have that leg room where the people in the middle can put their feet in the aisle. Or weirdly, you can do like just one rear seat and still have a bench, and like have it either at an angle or just some weird convention. And then again, you have more leg room. But that one is even less likely than the stripped down version of the Model X seat.
Yeah. I just can't see them stretching the actual body of the vehicle at all, because I think that there's not enough gain for it, unless of course all vehicles would pick up the new length. There would be no such thing as a Model Y stretch that would give you 4 or 5, 6.
Well, it would just be the Model Y.
It would just be the Model Y, and every one of them would be a little bit longer. I think would make a lot more sense when it comes to manufacturing, anyways.
Yeah, it's not unprecedented. The Model X grew by 0.1 inches this time, and thankfully they did more than that on the inside, because everybody would be like, well, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, 0.1 inches is not a lot of room.
Yeah, right. if they were going to make the Y longer, that would have been part of Juniper, and it didn't happen. So I don't think it's going to. And I don't know why. So maybe they will do some 6-seat configuration where it's a 60-40 split. You just put in 2 40s and leave the middle open. You don't have to do some fancy captain's chairs or something more elaborate than that.
Right, and you can't really move the rear seats back much more, because then you're limiting the height of who you can put in the chair. And the rear seats on Teslas don't slide. So
that's another valid point, is that with the sloped hatch, of course, you are limited by the height of someone that would sit in the 3rd row anyways, because it does slope down, so you're going to be bumping your head on the glass at some point, depending on your height. So it certainly makes more sense to have shorter passengers or children in the very back, because they'll have lots of headroom. But putting an adult back there is going to be problematic, not only on the leg room but also on the headroom.
Yeah, but you don't want to have it. All right, we finally got the 7th seat, and you can finally upgrade to Juniper. And then somebody looks, and all the specs for the rear seat room are down. Like if they already kind of just fit and now they don't fit, you might lose them to all these people out there on the conquest sales. They are trying. They're gunning for these sales, because Model Y didn't just magic itself into the top position in the world. So there's a lot of ankle biters trying to come get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're number one, you get a lot of people that are chasing at your heels, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we will see. Hopefully, Green the Only is able to pick up some more information as it goes to as software goes to production, and we'll be able to see if there's any more notifications of this. But good catch on his part. He's always looking at the code to see what's coming and yielding some interesting stuff.
Indeed.
Next, Tesla, of course, has been known as an American vehicle maker, and they have been crowned again the #1 American-made vehicle in the world. So they've got now again 4 spots. The top 4 spots is the most American-made vehicle in the segment. So you've got Model 3 now has taken the crown over from Model Y. Model Y has been bumped down to second, and then you've got the S and the X following. So this is the 4th or 5th year in a row that they've had these type of numbers. So occupying the first 3 spots 4 years in a row. And this is no surprise there. And it appears with the remodeling of Highland that there's even more parts because, of course, it was able to jump over the Model Y this particular year. We'll have to see if Juniper does the jump again next year. But it is impressive that these vehicles are, again, local supplying, putting into these vehicles. And I think if you were to do a actual check on them in their separate areas in Germany, in Shanghai, you would notice that there's a high percentage of that vehicle made around those particular factories. So within the same country, there's a higher percentage that they're pulling from around suppliers that are close to the factory. And of course, that's part of the success of Tesla, being able to break up the parts supply chain to make it local, quicker to get those parts, and better just-in-time delivery, less disruptions.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that Tesla, in the big scheme of the automotive market, is still a newcomer, and yet they dominate this list. I mean, and this isn't just a list of EVs. This is a list of all passenger vehicles. So, and especially with batteries, most companies are getting their batteries from China. So how is it that Tesla was able to build Gig in Nevada, make batteries local, even dealing with, partnering with Panasonic to make that happen? It's just, it's almost like, Ford, GM, and others are not even trying.
I think that Ford, GM, and others have chased the dollar to the point where they are going for the lowest possible cost, and if that takes them outside of the country, so be it, because they're after low dollar suppliers to provide them with more profit for their vehicles, and that's really the issue that Ford, GM, and Chrysler have gotten themselves into. And when it comes to when trade policies change, as they've done recently, you can find yourself in a whole lot of trouble because you've really moved so many suppliers out of the country that you have no hope of building that vehicle with local suppliers anymore, because you've priced them out completely, and they're not even part of your formula to make that car whatsoever.
Right. And then, as we saw during the pandemic, it means that you can't adapt when supply chains are disrupted. And if you're getting parts from halfway around the world from 200 different places, you can't manage that when they all get thrown in the air at once. But if they're local, you can just get deliveries from your local suppliers like you always have been. Or if you have to change a few parts, you can manage it. That's not the same as changing 200 parts and then just saying, oh, this is never going to work. Or there are other costs besides, just the, what you can put into a spreadsheet.
Yeah, or you're getting old parts that only one place makes anymore because nobody else wants it. And when you restrict your orders, they say, okay, we're not going to make these anymore. And now you say, whoops, people want to drive places, and you can't get them anymore.
Yeah, wasn't that the part of some of the part shortage during the pandemic was the chips?
Yes.
Some of the other manufacturers were using outdated old chips that were only being produced by one factory. They had the lowest or they had the highest yields and the lowest charge for those chips, and you had everyone just buying it from them. And then all of a sudden there's a disruption, and guess what? You cannot put your car together and make it run without that chip. And you caught flat-footed and had to basically wait till the supplier was able to fix the shortage on their end and ship those same chips out again. Whereas companies like Tesla were able to, let's make a modification to our schematic as to what we need, and we'll take a new chip that are available.
Yeah, but it was worse than that. They stopped taking the chip, and they were the only ones using it. So the manufacturer said, well, we can use this production time to make stuff that makes us more money. And they just booted the machine out the window, and they're like, wait, more. And they're like, we canceled it. You weren't using it.
Right. And then a company like Tesla can say, okay, fine, we'll get a newer chip and we'll tweak our software and we'll make it work. Whereas other suppliers where they don't even have software engineers, they have that all outsourced to Bosch or whoever else. They say, okay, we can get that in our queue and we'll get you the new code in 6 months. You can't be lines down for 6 months.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's on top of that. You got to wait for your supplier to integrate it into their stuff, to integrate it into your stuff.
Yes,
they don't have a lot of the vertical stuff going on.
Correct.
Yes, you've got that issue that if a company is not always looking at what's coming in the future or anticipating or at least keeping up with technology, you're in a situation where you're laden to those suppliers. And if those suppliers have an issue, then guess what? You're waiting until those suppliers fix that issue.
Yeah, and that's where the pure EVs came in a little bit ahead on this, because they, just by their design, their age, their when they were designed, engineered, they needed the newer chips that were still in production. So they kind of got away with that. But the ones that really succeeded are the more vertically integrated ones. You got Tesla, you got Rivian. In fact, now Rivian is in charge of a lot of Volkswagen stuff, so they don't get caught with their pants down again. They were more adaptable. They're using a general purpose design. They can take a new chip, and then it's just a matter of you get your software engineers to say, hey, validate this new chip. Here's your spec sheet. Make sure it does what it says it's going to do. Here's your inputs. And now that we've tested it, let's roll them out on the line. Or you're doing all this at the same time, and while it's on the ship, you're getting the last of the software together, and then as it arrives at the store, you're flashing the latest software onto it. And keep
right.
Yeah, when I was researching stuff for Tesla's 20th anniversary that last year, whenever that was, one of the stories I found was how Tesla had a lot of problems early on when they were doing the Model S, that they were not getting the best service from the suppliers. And so they ended up doing a lot of things themselves, not because they wanted to, but because they had to, because suppliers didn't know who this little startup was. They didn't want to work with them. They didn't know what volumes they were going to have. They're not going to distract the people that are supplying their major customers with some startup. And so it went from being a weakness to a strength when, okay, now we actually do own all of our software. We do control our supply lines. We do have local supplies. It's weird how that's not, they wanted to do it like everybody else, but they couldn't. So now it turned out to be a strength.
Yeah. And even better than that, in the beginning, before they ran out of volume, they were actually a supplier to the others. They were putting out top tier parts. Yeah. You can get
Daimler, Toyota. Yep.
Exactly. So a weakness turned into a strength, and now they're leading the segment. So hopefully some of these other firms that are making EVs can take a page from that book, and hopefully they're designing future vehicles with that in mind.
Or do like Volkswagen and just bite the bullet and let somebody else who knows what they're doing do it. You can put them together.
Musk predicted recently for how full self-driving is going to go, that after Tesla rolls it out and they see that it's working, and the other OEMs are going to, the car companies are going to end up licensing it from Tesla. We'll see if he's right, but Actually make true full self-driving is not cheap. You need a lot of data. You need a lot of compute. You have a lot of miles. So we'll see how if it stays it's a Tesla only thing, or if it proliferates, or if other competitors pop up.
Yeah, and we're 4 days away from that. So
Yeah.
22nd, the Sunday, is supposed to be launch day. So
Yeah.
we will definitely be keeping our eye on that.
Shall see.
Another story about keeping your eye on the future is about Tesla accepting and now trumpeting that the front bumper camera is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So there were many times when we expected the front bumper camera to show up. There were some models that the camera was on, and then shortly after they disappeared. We saw that with the Model 3. We saw that with Model S. We saw that that these were kind of surprising things, that sometimes that bumper camera was there and other times it was not. I remember when it did show up on a couple of the early production vehicles, and then it did show up on the website, and then a couple days later it was out of the website and the following production didn't have it. So this front bumper camera obviously has been a contentious issue at Tesla for quite some time as they try to solve FSD. And it seems that they're going to move it forward, because not only did they indicate that yes, that will be the case, but they've wrote it up on their website now, indicating that it enhances the autonomous driving, and it enhances a driver's ability to see objects in front of them that are low to the ground. And those are things that we've always have indicated that it made sense to us, but Tesla has always been of the mind of the best part is no part. And if they could get away with not having it and still have it be able to check all the boxes they needed to check, then they're quite happy not to have it. But it appears now, after some time, that they are going to require that, and going forward, everybody's going to get that front bumper cam.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when you look at it, though, it's not much of an addition for them. Like, the car started out after it was on Mobileye with the monocular. They had 8 cameras, and then they added the interior camera, and then they took one away. So now they just moved it. The camera that was there is back, and it's in the teeth.
The teeth? You mean the grill?
and so really the number of cameras hasn't increased between a certain period. Obviously, you just look back to the last one that was not there, so that shouldn't affect the cost too much. And it made sense to, especially, let's say, increase the resolution to make sure that it had a better view of what's going on down there. The Model Y that they had me in, first time my chance to ever drive a Model Y, they had me in for the weekend. It kept trying to pull into places, and it's a terrible parker. Maybe if it could see the lines after it made its choice, it would have parked better. It's Hardware 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so right now they're still shipping Hardware 4. So these front bumper cameras are coming out with Hardware 4. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that means that they can retrofit existing Hardware 4 vehicles. And I know that's sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like, I just got the millimeter wave upgrade, so that was nice. And I don't know how much I'd be willing to pay for a front bumper install, but I'd be willing to pay a few bucks to have that camera. And it's nice with parking. Already it shows you the lines on the screen, so you can if you're parked in the spot. And even though it can't see the lines, it knows where they were, and it knows how much it's moved, and it can map them pretty well. But still, being able to actually just see the camera view would be helpful.
Yeah, especially for the scenario we keep touting, is that the car goes to sleep in a blind. Car wakes up. The blind moves, either like a gate or a garage door, and then the car thinks it's clear to proceed, and it's not.
Right.
Because something was placed there while it was asleep and blind. A bicycle, a pet, a whole kid, and we don't need that kind of disaster headline coming around. So $50 a part at volume takes care of that.
Yep.
And as mentioned, as the volumes increase continually and resolutions get better, the prices of hardware keep coming down. So it's not a surprise that you get a better suite of software, and the percentage that you were being charged for that tends to go down as time goes along as well. So not a big surprise that the cost is really negligible when you start looking at it over a period of time.
I mean, when you look at on the smartphones, the ones that have 2 cameras to 3 cameras, what is your price differential? It's less than $50, right? And these are essentially the same sensors. And then a little bit of washer jet on the front camera.
Right.
Yeah. Well, here's another bit of interesting news that popped up this week. As mentioned, we've got a launch of the RoboTaxi about to start, but I guess it's the state of Texas, of course, had to get Tesla registered as an autonomous operator, and what they have is a actual website, which we've got in the notes if you'd like to follow it to that website, where you can actually track the autonomous groups that are trying to, testing vehicles in that vein. And you can select from the drop-down list Tesla, and it will go to the, when I looked at it early in the week, a single vehicle that was flagged as a testing vehicle. That's probably the one that we've been seeing in pictures around Austin. It's unclear as to whether or not we've got a second or third one on the road now, because I have been seeing more pictures from Austin, although I have to say that I'm not seeing a different color. I'm seeing the same color. So not saying that there's not more than 2 vehicles that are the gray color out there, but there could be, are there more, or is it just one? At this point, the app is showing a single, but and I gotta believe, they've got the fleet ready to go. Like, here we are on the 18th. It's going to happen on the 22nd. There's got to be a fleet of 20 or 30 of them sitting somewhere that are ready to roll out. They're not going to roll this out with one vehicle.
Right.
Even they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, when I was going through this article, when you posted them, Mark, one of the things I saw that was interesting in there, where it said safety driver none.
Yeah. No.
And so that, I assumed that when they first roll this out, you do crawl, walk, run, right? And that would mean that the first, at least week or so, you would have a safety driver in there. And they're permitted to allow them to not have one, but does that mean that they won't right away, or does this mean they're allowed not to? So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday.
If they don't, then they might argue that they've had safety drivers in Austin for the last 5 years.
You mean supervised FSD? Is that your...
Exactly, FSD beta.
Yeah.
But what I also, like you, was reading it as, either they're saying it doesn't have a safety driver, or they're saying that it might have the option to not have a safety driver.
Right. They're allowed not to. That doesn't mean they won't. And as we've seen some of the pictures, they've had a car following it.
A chaser, yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe they do that for the first couple days.
It's a little creepy, though. You're doing the thing, and there's people following you.
Quick, get away from that vehicle. They're there for, it's your support team. It's your
support team following you. Yeah, everywhere you go. You feel like a president of a nation or something, because you got a support team with an extra vehicle that's following behind you at all times.
You ever wanted to do an auto show? This is your camera crew.
Right? Yeah, you got your posse, your entourage. Yeah, yeah. Talk to my people; they're behind me.
I was
Exactly.
concerned. The view they show in the article seems like it's a little. It's not. Is that real time? Because I don't know that I'd want somebody to have even that level of ability to track.
I would assume it's at least 15 minutes delayed, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting. As we saw, if there's riots, maybe they'll be targeted. You wouldn't want that.
No, you wouldn't, would you? That would not be a good thing.
And then the certain somebody doesn't like their jet being tracked, so perhaps if they rode in a RoboTaxi, they wouldn't have as granular real-time updates as to where the vehicles are.
Right, but there isn't one labeled Elon Musk's RoboTaxi, right? It's just
right. But then you get the quad squad and say Elon just got in the white one, number 7,000, and then all right, on the map, okay, we've decoded what these things mean. That's number 7,000 right there. Follow me.
Yes, definitely. Lots of eyes following every little thing that Tesla does all the time.
Exactly.
Which is good and bad.
Good and bad all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Another bit of information came out about Powerwalls. And, Patrick, did you take a look at this?
I did. That is actually what I was doing when I was late to the show.
Wow.
All right, so this comes to us from Drive Tesla Canada, and it's titled Tesla to Expand VPP Across Japan with Free Powerwall Installations by Darren John. So who doesn't want a free Powerwall?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're in Japan, you might be getting one soon. So Tesla is going to significantly scale up their VPP operations across Japan. They're going to be working with engineering and energy companies there. The goal is to stabilize the country's power grid. And they're going to do that with commercial clients at no upfront cost. So this, the first phase of the rollout is intended to have 100 units by the end of this year. So starting immediately installing those. And the Japanese government is also laying the groundwork to allow for broader VPP adoption. They are going to allow trading of stored electricity in home and commercial batteries, and that is expected to start in 2026. The last bit here is that just a quick, here's what a VPP is. So power walls can be charged from solar or during off-peak times and then discharged during peak times to reduce the load on the grid. This reduces energy bills and it makes the grid more resilient. So it's a win-win for customers and the utilities, and Tesla's hoping to enable it.
So Tesla, the Powerwall and the Megapack were designed for global, but Japan uses 100-volt service instead of 120, 240. Does that mean that they're a little bit more potent in Japan?
Oh, like you get more hours of operation since it's a lower voltage?
Yeah, than like anything else it's designed for.
Yeah,
I'm sure that they've designed, like you said, they designed it for world operation use. Mm-hmm. I am sure that they have some sort of an inverter or multiplier or divider within the software to be able to connect to any grid, whether it's higher or lower voltage, and can conform to that.
Right, they're gonna conform. They've stated they built them for world, but what I'm wondering is it just more useful there because you already have typically smaller houses, and if they're drawing less volts than anywhere else in the world, do you get a little more bang for your buck? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh yeah, you definitely do because that culture is already they're eyeing. What would you say? They're being conservative with their power already. Mm-hmm. They have smaller houses, they have smaller energy bills, and they have less draw. They have less use, or they use less of the electricity in the first place per person per household. And of course, the best way to keep things simple is, of course, to not use as much. And I think the Japanese have that culture in them already, with not only electricity but many other things. And I think that it's going to be, like you said, Casey, they'll get more bang for their buck because they do conserve in the first place.
Yeah, And then Islander reminds us that depending on which part of the islands you're on, you could be at 50 or 60 hertz for your 100 volts with your American style outlet with no ground. Not that they don't have ground, they just don't have a grounding pin. It's interesting. Their electrical system is just fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely got some quirks and features.
But that is something that that we've talked about here in North America. We've talked about some power companies, like for example, Green Mountain Power out of Vermont, how they had an issue that they knew that people were having some black and brownouts, and they knew that they're going to have to create another peaker plant, or they're going to have to do something. And instead of spending the tens of hundreds of millions of dollars on the peaker plants, they decided we're going to give that money to people to buy their own power walls, put them in their own houses, hundreds, then thousands. And then over time, we'll be able to be more resilient, as the Japanese government is discovering that they can do the same thing by distributing the power out evenly amongst many homes, many businesses, and then the grid becomes more resilient and in effect helps everybody, not just the utility, but their customers and people that are using it to pay off the power walls as well.
Yeah. I wonder again if this is more potent in a couple different ways. You've got the cultures pushed more towards collectivism and the common good. You've got, again, the lower stress on the equipment. You've got denser construction, denser population. Does this mean they would need less megapacks if they carry this VPP out well, and it does the same as the American ones, but more?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're doing with Powerwalls, and why not go to megapacks. But I like the idea of having it distributed. So I mean, I talk about it on the show all the time. We have 3 Powerwalls, and I love them, and it just makes solar so much more effective. We actually have energy during a blackout, whereas if you don't have batteries, you have to your solar panels turn off because your inverter has to sync with the grid, and if the grid goes down, the inverter shuts off. And okay, what's the point of solar if I can't use it when the grid's down? Well, with Powerwalls, you can. So this is pretty cool that they're adding this. Go ahead.
I wonder if it's like what you and me keep talking about like how packet switching and that model with 1 million Powerwalls instead of 4 megapacks. If you are having outages and such, not only are the people who are affected able to weather it, and people who aren't affected able to help stabilize what's left of the grid, it's easier to track. And you don't have one point to bring it back online for a lot of this stuff, but I'm wondering if it's the customer satisfaction and the resilience against it, because remember, they are in an active part of the ring of fire. So if you have 1 megapack get taken out versus if you just have 500 of your Powerwall customers go.
Right. Yes, it's much more resilient if you're distributed. Yeah. Yep. And once you have the software that can do VPP events, you can have the benefit of a megapack of central control without the liability of a central pack of central one point of failure.
Yeah. Or the risk of the world is more volatile. There could be a terrorist attack on your infrastructure. And if it's everywhere, that's a lot harder to do than if they just go find the megapack farm and
Exactly. And before we had the internet era, you really couldn't do this. There's just no way you could coordinate thousands of things if they're not internet connected.
Yeah, it makes sense that our society moving to the internet and everything being connected, you can control thousands of power walls like you can 1 peaker plant with ease. So as long as the programming is solid and their connection to the grid is solid, then you haven't got an issue. It'll just at the prescribed times, it will switch and move and go back and forth depending on its needs at any time. So I think that again, I can't say too much about Green Mountain Power out of Vermont, especially because of the conditions that they face, where some of their residents are in remote areas that do require the ability to be self-sufficient if an emergency happens, if a snow emergency, or if there is a black or brownout, be able to pull from your own battery packs in your own house that is solid. It's a lifesaver.
Yeah. I'm surprised constantly by how many little events per month this system I have has to activate, and it only works on the 120. It doesn't work on the 240. I mean, it can, but I don't have it set up that way. And it's just amazing. Like, you've got a little 2 seconds here, you got an hour there. It's like, whoa, the power's out for an hour. I didn't even realize it.
Right, and that's nice. Yeah, if you didn't have those, you would have realized it, and it would have been very inconvenient. And now you have to go reset all your clocks or whatever you had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe some of your food's gone bad, or who knows what. It's so. We had 2 VPP events in the last month, and so I got paid for those. I just got my electricity bill. It was negative $40. So that's nice. Yeah, and we're not even at the solstice yet, Mark. So I mean, we have lots of sunny days coming still, and especially in July and August, they do VPP events often because people are running their AC because it's really hot, and that's when there's a peak, and they're gonna. They say, hey, we need some electricity for the grid. Do you want to sell me some? And I'll like, yes, I do. So that's going to be great. In fact, the program, it was a 5-year pilot, and the 5 years expires in September. And so I've been pinging them like, what's going to happen? And so they're working on the proposal. They're going to send it. They expect it to be to fly through without any opposition. And it's a good thing they did the pilot, because early on they had some things that were not good, and they fixed them all. And it's really nice to see. I mean, that's the whole point of a pilot, right? There are things you don't know, and then you try it, and that's how you figure it out, and then you do it right. They were paying every month just for making your batteries available, but then you could opt out of the events. So and it didn't change how much you got paid. So why would you opt into any and just and they got rid of that, and now the payments are per kilowatt hour that you send. And initially, the other problem they had was when they would discharge your battery, it was at a pretty low amount. And in some cases, it was less than what I was using. So I had it set up so that I was feeding the grid, and then they start the VPP event. And now I'm using from the grid because they've reduced the battery output because they were controlling it. Yeah. And so, I mean, that was an obvious failure. But on average, it was probably still beneficial, just not for my house. But that's still, you want to maximize every one of them that you have out there. So they changed that. And it's funny because they were sending me specifically emails saying, your configuration is a little different. We're adding software features to make yours work better. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Oh, that's like you said, that's a pilot type scenario where they're discovering that certain people, this guy's got 3 Powerwalls. He's able to provide us more if we would allow him to. So I guess we better modify the system because we weren't expecting somebody to have 3 units as opposed to 1.
Exactly.
So on when it was doing the limited output thing, was more of your solar taking over your house, or were they taking your solar too?
Yes. So I can feed anything into the grid, and it's just that they put the output of the battery at whatever level, and you can actually tell them what level you want. Now that's a feature they added, and so I have it set at max. I think it's 10 kilowatt, and so typically our house is a bit of an energy hog with air conditioning, and we've got a pond with a pump running, and so I don't know, we're typically using 3 kilowatt, and so that's what they were setting the battery to. But then when the AC would kick on, it's pulling from the grid, but now it spits out at 10, and that's more than enough for the house and to feed the grid. And if we're getting solar at the same time, and we usually are, then we're feeding 10 plus to the grid and using 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So yeah. It works out.
When it was misconfigured, what was happening with your solar?
So it was just that this in the time of day that they're doing it, it's usually early evening, and so
Okay,
we're
so
not getting that much solar. We're still getting some, but even with that, when the air conditioning's going, we were drawing from the grid, and like I said, that's not how they're running it anymore, because they, it's funny. I blogged about it, and I know that they read my blog because that's when they started emailing me.
Yeah.
And they actually said, we have this forum you can join where you can tell us this stuff directly. And I went to the forum, and part of the sign up for the forum was you agreed to not share any information that you learn on the forum. So I said, nope, I won't join it, because I want to talk about all this stuff. I want to put it in my blog. I want to share it. So I didn't even join the forum. And which is, I would have liked to have joined the forum and got shared information with them that way. But instead, they're still getting the data that they need from just looking at my system. And I know they're reading my blog. So
you're picking up eyeballs anyways.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. Did you blog about how you wouldn't join their forum because of the rules?
I don't know if I mentioned that or not.
Maybe you should send them that note. I didn't join it because you're not allowing me to spread the news about how this system works.
Right. And I could see, like, if somebody else goes on there and says, hey, I'm having this problem and here's my system data, they wouldn't want me to publicly share that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I'm not too upset that they had it that way, but, that just, I'm going to make my choices based on that, and they made theirs.
Exactly.
So I don't hold it against them.
Yeah.
Next story, just wanted to touch upon this. SpaceX has indicated that, get this, Starlink has produced its 10 millionth kit.
Wow. 10
million receiver kits. That is shocking. We heard early in Starlink's development about, the number 100,000 customer that gets on. Well, here we are, times 10 times 10. And we've got 10 million kits have been made, not necessarily all distributed, but certainly made and available for purchase. And of course, over the past, I would say, 3 years, we've seen a huge amount of other retailers getting involved with Starlink, being able to buy the kits at Home Depot or at Best Buy. Being able to see that all of these different airlines and ship companies, cruise ships, have picked up on this ability that now they don't have to be land-based anymore, and they can have the bandwidth that's really not available when it comes to satellite service outside of Starlink. And this is a huge win, and we see that. Of course, this is the big money maker that allows SpaceX to continue to develop Starship and other products that they want to use, that they want to fast produce, get up in the air, learn about it, modify, iterate, and continue. So hats off to SpaceX and Starlink, because this has been wildly successful.
I can't wait to see the first ones around Mars.
Exactly. Like this is something that would have been unheard of just 5 years ago. People would not believe. You're telling me that a private company is going to launch their own thousands of satellites that can encircle a planet or a moon or something else and provide instant communication? Oh, come on, you're pulling my leg. There's no way that could ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Iridium had a plan to do 77 of them, and they only got 68 or so, and then didn't even make it to 70. So Starlink's well outpaced that with the number of satellites. And you have to support this number of receivers, you have to have a lot of bandwidth in space, which means you have to have a lot of satellites going. And now their latest satellites that I heard, they just launched the ones that were cell phone base stations in the sky.
Yep.
Where so that'll change the way that you can. you don't have to be near a cell tower to have connectivity if they're flying overhead all the time.
Exactly. And it's the really, again, the sky's the limit here.
Quite literally.
It seems to be anything is possible, and of course the iteration of the actual units themselves, satellites, continues. The receivers now are the size of what basically a foot by a foot. You can get the mini receiver. It's startling how much this has changed just from its first launch, and the amount of people clamoring to it is definitely showing that it's a success.
So how long until these are standard in Tesla vehicles?
I remember that was an early question when they launched, and Tesla threw cold water on that quite a bit, saying that, come on,
they were large pizza sized at that time.
Yeah, this is not really practical. This is something that we're not saying that we would ever go for. But now that the satellite receivers are getting smaller and smaller, I can definitely see that that they could certainly put it inside the roof or trunk or frunk of any vehicle and be able to connect. And then, of course, then they're paying themselves. They're not paying another provider to transmit data. So I would have thought that was silly a couple of years ago, but now it's a distinct possibility in my mind.
It's also possible they don't need the dish. They've got the when they are able to improve the capabilities of the SAT to cell service, all their vehicles already have a cell modem. So,
oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
They just take out the AT&T SIM or eSIM, or just add the code. They use the Tesla access point on the Starlink, and then fall back on the terrestrial if you need to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you could use an antenna instead of a receiver, dish receiver. Interesting.
Today, that would only work for emergency calls, but in the future, when they add more birds, and specifically the next version.
Yeah, when there's more and more bandwidth available.
Yeah, I wonder how big of a check Tesla has to write to AT&T every month or quarter or whenever they
whatever they have in Europe. Oof.
That would be a fair amount, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's it for this week. I think we're going to wrap. I do want to mention that we've got the Tesla Summer Meetup happening in Muskegon, Michigan on this Friday and Saturday. So if you're in the Muskegon area, please visit the Tesla Owners of Michigan website. Check out the information page there, and you can grab a ticket there as well. So hopefully we'll see you in Muskegon. The weather is supposed to be spectacular this weekend, so in that area of the country. So we're looking forward to that. Shout outs. Let's move over to Casey. What do you got for us, sir?
Catch us on Tesla Life Express, editions 1 and 2 on Friday and Monday. And then catch us on Sunday over at youtube.com/KCGreen or x.com/GCustom for Let's Chat with Casey and Friends. Who knows what we'll talk about? I'm definitely going to talk about what we're going to talk about on the Express #1 show some more, because that is something that we talked about in the past, and it really grinds my gears.
Some good topics coming up. Absolutely. Patrick, what do you got for us?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels.
Awesome.
There's a wall here now, so I can't point at his number.
You're trapped. Casey's trapped in a box. Yes, indeed. If you'd like to keep up with us in between shows, you can certainly follow us on our X feed at the Tesla Life. And we look forward to getting together and talking about what's happening in the Tesla Life again real soon. We also like to thank Lee Moon for the music that we use every week. With that, have a great evening, everyone.
Stay positive, test negative.
Bye-bye.